Good morning, guys. Hope you guys are all well. Today is April 29th, Monday, and markets are doing very well, obviously, after a very good report from Google announcing the dividend and growth earnings, very good earnings, and Microsoft as well, good earnings. So this week up on earnings watch is Amazon and Apple. And I suspect they both, if they have a good report, Apple, there's not too much of an expectation, but Amazon, there's a lot of expectation on how well they do, especially on the cloud side, to see if the growth accelerates, given how well it is accelerated for Microsoft on the because of the AI tailwinds. So I think that'll be a good print to watch. Anything between 13 to 15% growth as opposed to 12% growth last quarter on the AWS side is going to be viewed as positive. Overall profitability will be positive given how well Andy Jassy, the new CEO, well, relatively new CEO, has focused on the business in terms of profitability over the last couple of years that he's been the CEO. So good things to watch anyway for the rest of the week. One of the companies that showed up on the radar screen is HubSpot. Now, I've covered a lot of companies in the CRM and the software as a service space. Few ones that come to mind. If you haven't taken a look at those, go take a look at those. First one is CRM, Salesforce.com. Very good company, primarily targeted at the larger companies right now. They used to be a small and mid-sized business, but like everybody else, they moved up market. Adobe also has a suite of CRM solutions, not as directly competitive with Salesforce in many of the offerings, specifically on the Salesforce automation side, but definitely on the marketing cloud side. Then Braze is another company that we covered, BRAZE, which is a marketing, specifically email marketing solution for mid-sized to larger businesses. We covered Klaviyo, which is a specific solution for smaller businesses, primarily e-commerce, primarily retail, and largely about 85% of the customers is Shopify. And then finally, if you look at Monday.com, we covered that company roughly about a month or two ago. Now, Monday started on the project management, program management side, but they claim that their Work OS system allows people to build other applications competing with even ServiceNow on the help desk and service desk side. We covered ServiceNow as well as another company in this space. So we've covered a lot of companies, 6 to 7 companies in the software as a service space, all front office companies. HubSpot is also one of them. Now, if you look at these companies, they all come from different strengths, and just within their market, they're fairly strong, but they're all eventually going to compete with each other in some way, shape, or form. HubSpot, I think, competes very well with and very frequently with Salesforce.com, but realistically, a lot of companies use both of them together in many cases. HubSpot also competes with Freshdesk on the service desk side, with ServiceNow on the self-desk service desk side, as they do with Monday. So there's a lot of competitors that are moving around in the same kind of a bucket, but primarily the competitors of HubSpot. When people are looking at HubSpot, the competition that HubSpot has in the small to mid-sized market is where they operate, not so much in the large. For them, a large customer is usually partner-driven opportunity, and a large customer, usually about 100 million, they start to build their own stuff overall. So the mid-sized companies and the small companies, the primary competition is essentially a bunch of different or a suite of different tools, or it could be a Zoho, or it could be a Salesforce. But HubSpot tends to have a dominant position, 205,000 customers globally, 60% nearly money and the revenue coming from outside of the US. The customer count, though, is more in the US than outside. So 205,000 customers, average revenue about 11,000 or so per customer per year. So roughly about $1,000, 800 to $1,000 per customer. That's what they're getting per year. And they have that's average, by the way. And they have a suite of different products. Now they're claiming to be a platform as well. Very similar to the story that you heard by Nikesh Arora and Palo Alto on the cybersecurity side. There's platformization happening even on this side. So the market for marketing SaaS, sales SaaS, services SaaS, customer management system, and operations management is roughly about 77 billion. Their target primarily is the mid-market and small market companies, companies that are between 1 to about 2,000 employees. Anything above that becomes enterprise. They don't have a solution yet that they target for them, but people could use them. And a lot of enterprises tend to use their solution in small regional business units. So there are a few companies that are large that are using HubSpot, but they tend to use them in regional locations for a specific market. For example, if a company that is using something else in another location like US, but they want to go into Japan, they might use HubSpot just for that location, if you will. What do their customers want? Now, HubSpot sends to small and medium-sized businesses. The most important thing the small and medium-sized business, probably every business cares about, is get more customers. right? How do we acquire more customers? Their focus is more on quality than quantity. The big customers, the big enterprises, they focus on quantity. For them, the amount of leads generated is a critical measure for marketing overall. Whereas for mid-size and small-size businesses, even if they get 10, they're okay as long as that meets their budget constraints. Second one, they want to be able to make more decisions that are very data-driven. A lot of small, mid-sized companies tend not to do that very much, right? They have less access to data, number one. Number two, once they have access to data, it takes a lot of time and effort and energy to be able to analyze it and then come up with decisions. Most of these companies have maybe one person in marketing, maybe even half a person in marketing wearing the customer support hat on the daily basis and maybe on the weekly basis taking care of marketing type of thing. They want to improve their customer experience, number three, and making sure that the journey of the customer throughout their specific touch points with the pre-sale cycle and even the post-sale cycle is amazing. Efficiency, making sure that they can do a lot more with less, making sure that they can have fewer people, but a lot more output from those people. And finally, they want to leverage AI. So I'm going to walk you through that. Their customers care about those things. Now, what Salesforce.com does is they actually sell you the entire platform. You can start with an app, but Salesforce, big push is we can do everything for the enterprise. HubSpot side, they started with one app, and that was their inbound marketing app. They only focused on marketing first off. That marketing app allowed you to have a website that you can build, allowed you to be able to have a blog platform that you can build, allow you to host content and make sure that you can understand your analytics, right? Those are the four things that they started out with. This was in 2006. I remember talking to the founders very, very early on in 2006 as well. Didn't keep very much in touch with them after that. Both Dharmesh Shah and Brian Halligan and moved on to other roles. Dharmesh is still the CTO. Brian Halligan has become the chairman, and a new CEO is running the show, and she seems to be Yamini Krishnan Radhan seems to be doing a fairly good job overall to be able to move the company forward. They moved from that app, a small little app that did those four things, to then build a suite of products in the marketing automation side, from landing pages, which are important, to customer chatbots. So they have a suite of applications. Then customers would buy into an entire suite, for example, marketing suite. Then they added sales suite. Then they added services suite. So now a platform is when they have people buying 3, 4, 5 different suites of the 5 suites that they have to get the entire platform and to build apps on top of it. They're also evolving from moving to a small customer focus to a mid-sized and small customer focus. Remember, small customer is less than 100 employees, mid-sized focus is a little under 2,000 employees. So they call their platform suites as hubs. So each of these is a suite: the marketing suite, the sales suite, the service suite, the content management system overall, CMS, content management system hub, operations hub, and finally commerce hub. Commerce hub is relatively new, and this allows them to be able to take payments and move things online. Very similar to, maybe not exactly like what a Shopify does on the consumer side, but more on the B2B side. They do an effective job. Smaller companies, they can use and manage along with just a shopping cart and an ability to people to buy online with HubSpot as well as they could with anybody else. They also have a CRM system that allows you to be able to leverage the data and customer data, which is unified across the board. Remember, this is the same thing that Klaviyo is trying to do as well for the very small customers, primarily on the retail side. Klaviyo's customer base ideally is under the 100, even 100. So they're focusing on that. They have an ecosystem as well. So they allow you to be able to integrate with third-party systems that are built on top of the platform. They allow you to learn. Everything is free to be able to learn the HubSpot system, how to work with it, how to get certified on it, etc. And then grow the community by being able to allow opportunities for people to move from one HubSpot customer to another. So they're introducing AI into all of their hubs, whether it's assistants or agents to be able to do specific chatbot activities for the customer. You can actually, HubSpot has a chatbot capability. They also do email automation. They do email marketing. They do email automation for salespeople. So you can leverage your sales reps to be able to send meetings and events. You can schedule meetings. There's a ton of things that now you can do with the HubSpot platform. In each of those different hubs, the capabilities and features are too enormous to really talk about. Very similar to Salesforce. I didn't talk about every one of the features. They have a lot of different things that they do within the platform. And then finally, AI insights and research. So ChatSpot is more of a research tool. How can you research about your SEO requirements? How can you research about company insights before you start to sell? And they're building in the AI into every one of these things, right? How do you allow companies to be able to leverage the AI within the platform as opposed to going to chat GPT or any other solution like that. Now, with Commerce Hub, which is the newest hub of the ones that I'd mentioned, remember they have Marketing Hub, they have Sales Hub, they have Services Hub, they have CMS Hub, which is Content Management System, Operations Hub, and then Commerce Hub. Commerce Hub essentially allows people to be able to, primarily on the B2B, as I said, look at this, they have invoices, payments, quotes. Small B2B companies can leverage mid-sized B2B companies. Then you can go ahead and make payment online. You can do billing, subscription, and taxes. Makes it very easy to integrate with other payment systems such as Stripe. So makes it very, very comfortable, very, very consistent to have a one-stop solution to do the whole thing. Very similar to what I've said, a lot of companies are trying to do, be the end-to-end company for all of these. How do they go to market? They go to market in two ways. At the lower end of the market, they acquire customers primarily digitally, and most of these are very small companies, very early in the cycle, 1 to 10 people, 20 people. They're just trying to get their feet on the ground. They make the product extremely easy to use, and you can sign up online for literally a starter edition that is maybe 10th of the price. There are 3 editions of each of these hubs. Right? They have a starter edition, which is a very small amount of money. They have a professional edition, which is about $800 a month or so for the marketing ones, and other ones maybe a little bit more. And then they have an enterprise edition that's $3,600 per month, and it could go even higher from there with all the other adds, bells and whistles that you might add on. So the lower end is where they start. They get a foot in the door with just most of the time it is CMS and Marketing Hub is where they get started. Most of their customers start there. Some of the people seem to be starting with the open CRM, free CRM solution as well. Seems to be working for them fairly well if you want a sales-driven motion. And then once they get to the upmarket side, it's primarily driven by a lot of people in their sales organization upselling customers. So it's not necessarily opening new doors as much, except through partners. So partners seem to be the way that they have decided they're going to go to market with a lot of the third-party companies being able to work to get them more customers overall. So the large companies, as I mentioned, large for them is 1,000 to 2,000 people in the employee count for the customer. That's primarily getting in online, running through their blog, learning about the system. They do a lot of content. They do a lot of digital education marketing, if you will, inbound marketing. Then it's sales-led and then partner-led. In the medium-sized business, 100 to about 1,000 people, that's mostly digital plus sales-driven motion, which is inside salespeople. And finally, on the small side, they just want people to sign up seamlessly. So 85% of the customers start with the starter edition. As I mentioned, that's about less than $100 or so. The partner edition is a partner-driven model is essentially for the mid-sized and the larger customers. About 50% of the services for installing it, implementing it, putting together campaigns, putting together landing pages, everything is done by the partner. So the solution you can do it yourself, or the partner can help you do it as well. And then most of the sales-driven motion is upselling. To a large extent, it is going from 1 hub to 2 hubs or 2 hubs to 5 hubs, etc. Now, the big change that they're doing in terms of the overall platform story is they're saying CRM is the system that used to be the system of record for all front office information data, customer relationship management, all the way from marketing, sales, service, support, etc. Now, when CRM started, it tended to be Siebel, Vantive, Clarify back in the day, in the early 90s or so. It needed to be the seller system record, right? So you manage all your relationships, you manage all your leads, you manage all your customers in one single place. But now it's become a system where everybody is entering duplicate system. That the data is just so messy to a large extent. CRM systems are the most hated in most sales organizations because all it does is just collect a lot of data. It's usually incorrect, and most people resort to spreadsheets. Instead, if you have a system where you're able to go ahead and use AI to make those changes, that's the pitch that HubSpot is making. The CRM system needs to be less about the data being put in manually and getting it wrong, but instead using AI to be smarter in the way it is able to customize, in the way it is able to give you intelligence instead of having to dig through a lot of information. And the great customer platform, CRM system, the great part is just engagement. How do you make sure that people are engaged in using it? Because if the data is not going to be there, nobody's going to use it, and it's going to be just as good as what having something else that you did before. So now what you're seeing now in terms of customer engagement is before you have data in multiple different systems, it's easier to be in one system. That's their pitch. Email, typically, even now, email tends to be very, very driven for one-to-one communication and even one-to-many to a certain extent in the large enterprise B2B motion. But now people are also doing LinkedIn messages, WhatsApp messages, text messages, all in the name of being able to be productive and meeting the customer where they are. And now it is a combination of agents and humans. So they have a lot of integrations that they've done with the marketplace. Not only can they buy their own apps, they can also integrate with third-party apps. They have a little over 1,247 I saw. They're claiming about 1,500 apps right now in 2024. That's the goal. 1,500 apps is what they'll have in their app store. So these are companies like Google Analytics is integrated seamlessly into it. If you want to pull data into data lakes or data warehouses such as Snowflake or Databricks, you can do that also with HubSpot. And the number of installs of their applications themselves is a little over 2 million. So they have about 1.1 million or 1.2 million installed users actively using the system of HubSpot in the 205,000 customers. So each customer is roughly about 5 on average in terms of number of users. Of course, that's the average. A lot of customers have much, much more, and few customers have even 1 or 2 people in many cases. So the average number of installs, 2 million, indicates roughly about 10 apps are being installed. Most of the apps are very simple apps, like, for example, Google Analytics, right? Everybody installs Google Analytics and get it up and running. The kinds of apps that are available, analytics apps, as I already mentioned to you, marketing-related apps are a lot of them in the system as well. That's the number one. Marketing-related apps might be data apps that gives you information about your customers, the segmentation for you, positioning, content messaging, marketing, things of that nature. They have a lot of different apps on top of their platform. And the other part of it that is interesting about HubSpot, which is very good about them, is they actually do a very good job of educating both the customer before they become a customer, pre-customer stage, and also after they become a customer. Their online academy and education is terrific. Gives you a lot of different courses, gets you from zero to getting very proficient on HubSpot very, very quickly. So it's a very useful and very consistent mechanism of being able to do education. Now, they've shown very strong revenue growth from literally about 675 million, 33% movement CAGR from 2019 all the way to 2.2 billion this year. 2023, they ended at about 2.2 billion. As opposed to 2.1 billion. So strong movement. So this is a $2 billion company. That's very, very strong. And they're growing it this year, they'll end up growing at about 22% or so. So that's about 400 million. They'll be about 2.5 billion. So this is 2024 is made a $2.5 billion range. And they have roughly about, so this was 185, now it's about 205,000 customers. There is a rumor about HubSpot being acquired by Google. If that happens, I don't know if it will. It was a rumor last week or 2 weeks ago. If that happens, then that really opens up the bucket for Google to be able to be very effective and very efficient with being able to move into the small, medium customer base. So Google already has a lot of them. So selling into the install base, moving them up market to a HubSpot solution end to end would be a terrific move if Google did that. 50-60% of their revenue comes from international customers. 43% is the US. So US is still the largest by individual country. Partner-led motion is about 40%. That they could improve to about 50%. And between new customers and install base, through a 50-50, very good mix. This is a very balanced approach, if you will. Most of the companies, the two-hub solution, which is about 60% of their companies, of their customers, use about two hubs, which is usually the marketing hub and the sales hub. The three hubs, when they would get to the CMS hub, is the next one. And then more than that is usually plus the services hub, plus the operations hub. Marketing only is a big part, and sales only is another big part. You'll find that a lot of customers start on the CRM side alone, or they start on the marketing side alone. At the low end, lots of customers getting up as well, trying to move from 21,000 customers to what 200. This is the low end. So of the 205,000 customers, 79,000 of them just generated in the low end of their customer base, which is the starter edition. Get moving, get into the door, pay a little bit of money as a customer to HubSpot, and get moving from there. And then the larger deals happen in terms of being able to get nearly 26% of all revenue coming in from the larger deals. Because they have a platform, now they're seeing a lot more retention. Remember, the small, medium business side is extremely churn worthy, which means the number of people that drop out, either because the companies die. Most of the cases, that's what happens. Most companies die. When they become a customer, the company themselves go out of the business in about 2 to 5 years. The churn rate is fairly high because of that. The second reason the churn rate is high is as the company gets bigger, they start to think of their needs as every team starts to split apart. The content team versus demand team versus the SEO team, website team, they all have their own needs and they all think that they know better. So they go off and buy different products to suit their specific need. And that's what happens when HubSpot then loses out to a certain extent in being able to churn out of the customer when they say, no, we need something more flexible. So a lot of customers would benefit from a single approach, but a lot of customer churn out as well. Now that has increased their retention to nearly about 90%, which is good, which is very, very good, especially in the SMB side. Now, what happens with a way to be able to grow for them is they can drive more consumption-driven patterns, which is you get a customer that you're just using. So there are two ways. You get more seats coming into the customer, and you start to use more of the platform itself. So they can price you by ticket as well. They can price you by number of contacts available. They have a lot of options to be able to sell upsells and conditions. So the Marketing Hub is growing at about 20%. This is their largest solution. This is the second biggest solution, growing faster. And these are all relatively new solutions. This too, the CMS Hub and the Marketing Hub, actually the oldest solutions, if you will, that a HubSpot has. Managing your content, managing your blog, managing your videos, managing your podcasts, things of that nature in the Content Hub. Marketing, managing your landing pages, managing your posts, managing your analytics. That's what Marketing Hub is. Managing your leads, managing your sales cycle. That's your Sales Hub. And the Service Hub is supporting your customers. Operations Hub is more analytics and efficiency. Only about customers that are multiple hub customers, which is marketing, sales, etc. It's about 33% of the customers, and that brings nearly 50% of their annual recurring revenue. So more people in the 3 hubs than in the 4 and 5, but that's a good opportunity for them to be able to grow from there. They also have about 1.7 million active users, of which 1.5 million are paid. So these are the paid users. These are the additional users that are new, fresh, starting. Usually the difference is about nearly 600,000. That's usually people using their free CRM sales tool, Salesforce automation, sales CRM solution to a large extent. And HubSpot on the service side has got about 143 customers. Lots of expansion for them opportunity-wise. Now, what are they doing with AI is increasing hub prices itself. So if you look at it before, it used to be $120. They've gone to $123. This is nearly 2-3 times what you'd pay for a Salesforce in terms of Sales Hub. So expensive on the higher end, but making a lot of value in terms of how to add capabilities and innovation that maybe Salesforce is not doing as quickly to a certain extent, I would imagine. But this is expensive, $150 per seat compared to $65 at the high end for Salesforce. Of course, this is the entire hub. So Salesforce's entire suite of sales solutions will be a lot more expensive per seat than $150. But the apples to apples comparison, $0 on HubSpot on the basic CRM solution to manage your leads and process versus, at least, I don't think Salesforce gives you a free edition as far as I know. You'll still have to pay for it. Okay, the long-term model, gross margins in the 80% range, very strong gross margins. R&D is about 20%. This is check. This is going to be a good check as well. Sales and marketing still at 45%. Now about 43%. They want to get to about 35%. That would probably be very, very good, very effective. And their operating margin come to about 14%. How can they do that? They primarily start with the starter acquisition, grow more customers to come in and take the starter acquisition, grow more customers to come in and take the commerce side, try and take business away from Shopify and people like that. Then very sales driven to upsell the customers, and finally partner driven to go after the larger customers. That's how they think they can get there. So at a glance, 2.2 billion in revenue, growing at about 22% year over year. This was 2023. 2024, they're planning to grow about 22%. Free cash flow is about $290 million, about 13 to 14% operating margin, 205,000 customers, nearly growing, very similar to their revenue growth. They're adding a lot more customers. 50% of their customers are new logos, and roughly about 8,000 or so employees now in about 135 countries. So that's the summary of HubSpot. I'm going to do a fundamental and technical analysis, and that's available for subscribers. Let me know what you think. I'd love to get your feedback, and happy end of April. I'm actually going to be traveling tomorrow, so I don't think I will be able to get a video done. So I'll talk to you guys on the 1st of May.